The woman appeared at Brock Morrison's ranch gate, just as the sun bled crimson across the Montana horizon in the summer of 1883. Her dress torn and dusty, her dark hair matted with blood and dirt, and when their eyes met through the wooden slats, something shifted in the very foundation of his carefully ordered world. Brock had been mending fence posts when he heard the soft thud of someone collapsing against his gate. He dropped his tools and ran, his boots kicking up dust as he crossed the hard, packed earth. The woman was maybe 20 years old, her face pale beneath the grime, her fingers curled around the gate posts like they were the only things keeping her upright. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking with exhaustion. "Please help me." Brock pulled open the gate and caught her as she fell forward. She weighed almost nothing in his arms, her body trembling violently. He could see bruises forming on her exposed skin, scratches across her cheeks and arms. Her green eyes fluttered closed. "I have you," he said, surprised by the steadiness in his voice when his heart was hammering. "You are safe now." He carried her into his small ranch house, pushing the door open with his shoulder. The interior was sparse but clean, everything in its place the way he liked it. A bachelor's home, functional and plain. He laid her carefully on his bed, the only bed in the single-room structure, and fetched water from the pump outside. When he returned with a basin and clean cloths, her eyes were open again, tracking his movements with wariness. "What happened to you?" Brock asked, kneeling beside the bed. He was 26 years old and had lived alone on this ranch for 4 years, and in all that time he had never had a visitor like this. "Stagecoach," she managed. "Attacked. 5 miles back, maybe more. I ran. The others," her eyes filled with tears. "Dead. All dead. The driver, the guard, the other passengers. I hid in the brush when they started shooting. When they left, I just ran. I did not know where I was going." Brock wet a cloth and gently cleaned the blood from her temple. "The wound was not deep, just a graze. You were lucky." "Was I?" She turned her face away. "Everyone else is dead and I just hid. You survived. That took its own kind of courage." He continued cleaning her wounds with careful hands. "What is your name?" Lily Bryant." She looked back at him. "Who are you?" "Brock Morrison. This is my ranch." "You are about 15 miles outside of Spokane, Montana. Small spread, just me and some cattle. Just you, just me." He rinsed the cloth in the basin, the water turning pink. "No wife, no hands, I manage." Lily was quiet for a moment, studying his face. He was handsome in a rugged way, she thought, with strong features and dark hair that fell over his forehead. His eyes were a deep brown, kind despite the hard life she could read in the lines around them. "Thank you for helping me," she said softly. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," she said. "Not everyone would have." Brock finished cleaning her wounds and stepped back. "You should rest. I will sleep in the barn tonight. The bed is yours." "I cannot take your bed." "You can and you will. You have been through hell today. You need proper rest." He moved toward the door. "There is food in the cupboard if you get hungry. Help yourself to anything." "Mr. Morrison." He turned back. "Thank you," she said again. And this time there was something more in her voice, something that made his chest tighten in a way he did not quite understand. That night, Brock lay in the hayloft of his barn, staring up at the stars through gaps in the roof. He could not stop thinking about Lily Bryant and the fear in her eyes, the way she had looked at him like he was her last hope in the world. He had built this ranch with his own 2 hands after his parents died, had chosen solitude over the complications of town life. He liked the quiet, the predictability of cattle and land and weather. But something about finding Lily at his gate had shaken him. The moment he had looked into her eyes, he had felt responsible for her in a way that went beyond simple human decency. In the house, Lily lay awake as well, her body aching but her mind racing. She kept seeing the bandits appearing on the road, kept hearing the gunshots and screams. She had been traveling to Spokane to work as a schoolteacher, her first position after finishing her education in Boston. Everything she owned had been in her trunk on that stagecoach. Now she had nothing but the torn dress on her back. And yet, lying in this stranger's bed in this strange place, she felt safer than she had in months, maybe years. There was something solid about Brock Morrison, something that made her believe his promise that she was safe. The next morning, Brock woke early and did his chores before the sun was fully up. He milked his cow, fed the chickens, checked on the cattle in the near pasture. When he finally went back to the house, he found Lily awake and sitting at his small table, wearing one of his shirts over her dress. It was far too large on her, the sleeves rolled up multiple times. "I hope you do not mind," she said, gesturing to the shirt. "My dress was too torn. Keep it." He set down a pail of fresh milk. "How are you feeling?" "Sore, but better." She had washed her face and tried to comb her hair with her fingers. Without the dirt and blood, she was beautiful. The thought came to Brock unbidden, and he pushed it away. "I need to ride into Spokane today," he said. "Report the attack. The sheriff will want to hear what happened." Fear flashed across her face. "Do I have to go?" "Not if you are not ready, but they will want your testimony eventually. I know, I just—" She wrapped her arms around herself. "I am not ready to face people yet, to tell the story again. Then stay here, rest another day. I will tell the sheriff where you are and that you will speak with him when you are able." Relief flooded her features. "Thank you." Brock made them breakfast, simple fare of eggs and bread. They ate in silence at first, both of them hyper-aware of the other's presence in the small space. "How long have you lived here?" Lily asked finally. 4 years. I built the house myself, piece by piece. It is not much, but it is mine. It is nice, honest." She looked around the single room with its rough-hewn furniture and simple decorations. "You can tell a good man lives here." Brock felt heat rise in his cheeks. "You do not know me well enough to say that. I think I do. You could have turned me away last night, or taken advantage. You did neither. That is just basic human decency, not virtue. You would be surprised how rare basic decency is, Mr. Morrison." "Brock," he said. "Just call me Brock." She smiled, a small thing but genuine. "Brock then. And I am Lily." After breakfast, Brock saddled his horse and rode into Spokane. The town was growing, new buildings going up every month as more people settled in Montana territory. He found Sheriff Tom Hendricks in his office, boots up on his desk, reading a week-old newspaper. "Brock Morrison," the sheriff said, dropping his feet to the floor. "What brings you to town?" "There was a stagecoach attack yesterday, about 5 miles west of my place. Everyone killed except one passenger. She made it to my ranch." The sheriff was on his feet immediately. "She all right, shaken up, some cuts and bruises, but she will live. I will need to talk to her. I know, give her a day or two, she is not ready yet." Hendricks studied Brock's face. "You got a survivor of a massacre at your ranch and you want me to wait? I want you to have some human compassion, Tom. She watched people die. She needs time." The sheriff sighed. "Fine, a day or two. But then I am coming out there whether she is ready or not. We need to know what happened." Brock also stopped at the general store and bought fabric for a dress, some basic supplies Lily would need. Mrs. Patterson, who ran the store, raised her eyebrows at his purchases. "Got a lady friend we do not know about, Brock?" "Just helping someone out," he said curtly, not wanting to spread the story before Lily was ready. When he returned to the ranch, he found Lily outside, scattering feed for the chickens. She had found his spare pair of trousers and belted them tight around her waist, the legs rolled up. Combined with his oversized shirt, she looked like a child playing dress-up, and yet there was nothing childish about the way his heart kicked up at the sight of her. "You did not have to do that," he said, dismounting. "I wanted to help. You have been so kind, and I have just been taking up space." "You are recovering from trauma. You are allowed to take up space." He pulled the fabric from his saddlebag. "I bought this in town, figured you might want to make a proper dress." Lily took the fabric, running her fingers over the soft blue cotton. "This is too much. It is just fabric." "No, it is kindness. Real kindness." Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I do not know how to repay you." "You do not have to repay anything, just get better. That is enough." Over the next few days they fell into an unexpected rhythm. Brock did his ranch work while Lily rested and slowly regained her strength. She sewed her new dress, carefully stitching by lamplight in the evenings while Brock read or mended tack. They talked, cautiously at first, sharing small pieces of themselves. Brock learned that Lily had grown up in Boston, the daughter of a professor and a seamstress. Her parents had died of influenza the previous winter, leaving her alone in the world. The teaching position in Spokane had seemed like a chance to start fresh, to build a new life far from the memories. "I suppose that plan is ruined now," she said one evening. "Even if the school board still wants me, I have no credentials, no references. Everything was in my trunk." "We can send for replacements," Brock said. "People in Spokane will understand what happened." "Will they? Or will they think I am some kind of bad luck charm, the woman who survived when everyone else died? Anyone who thinks that is a fool." Lily set down her sewing. "You really believe that? I know it. You did nothing wrong, you survived. That is not a crime." She looked at him across the lamplight, really looked at him, and Brock felt something shift between them. It was more than gratitude in her eyes now, something deeper and more complicated. "Why are you alone out here, Brock?" she asked quietly. "A good man like you could have a wife, a family." "Never seemed to fit right in town," he said after a moment. "After my parents died and I built this place, I got used to the quiet, got used to being alone." "Do you like being alone?" He met her gaze. "I thought I did." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning neither of them was quite ready to name. A week after Lily arrived, Sheriff Hendricks rode out to the ranch. Brock saw him coming and went to meet him in the yard. "Time to talk to your guest," Hendricks said, dismounting. "Be gentle, Tom. She is still fragile." "I will be as gentle as I can be, but I got a job to do." Lily was inside, and when Brock brought the sheriff in, she went pale but held herself together. She told her story in a steady voice, describing the 5 men who had attacked the stagecoach, what they looked like, what they had said. Hendricks took notes, his face grim. "We have been tracking a gang operating in this area," he said when she finished. "Sounds like the same bunch. They have hit 3 coaches in the last 2 months. You are the first survivor." "Lucky me," Lily said bitterly. "You are lucky, Miss Bryant, luckier than you know." Hendricks put away his notebook. "I will do everything I can to catch these men. In the meantime, you stay put here where it is safe." After the sheriff left, Lily sat at the table with her head in her hands. Brock wanted to comfort her but did not know how. Finally, he just sat down across from her. "It is real now," she said. "Telling him made it real all over again. I know. Have you ever watched people die?" Brock was quiet for a long moment. "Yes, my father, he got caught in a stampede when I was 22. Took him 3 days to die. I sat with him the whole time." Lily looked up, her eyes red. "I am sorry, I should not have said that. You are hurting. You get to say whatever you need to say." He reached across the table, tentatively, and took her hand. It was the first time he had really touched her since that first night, and her skin was warm against his. "You are not alone in this, Lily. I am here." She turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. "Why are you being so good to me?" "Because someone should be. Because you deserve it." Because I cannot imagine you leaving, he thought but did not say. That night, they sat outside together watching the stars. The Montana sky was endless and dark, scattered with more stars than Lily had ever seen in Boston. "It is beautiful here," she said. "Wild but beautiful. It can be hard, too. The winters are brutal. The land does not forgive mistakes." "Do you ever get lonely?" Brock glanced at her. "Sometimes." "Less so lately," she smiled. "I am glad I am good company at least." "You are more than good company, Lily." The words came out before he could stop them, and he felt his face heat. "I mean, you are welcome here, for as long as you want to stay. Even if the school board still wants me. Even if I take that teaching job." Something twisted in his chest at the thought of her leaving, moving to town, becoming part of a world he had deliberately left behind. "Even then. This is your home now if you want it to be." Lily was quiet, looking up at the stars. "I do not know what I want anymore. A week ago I had a plan. Now everything is different. Different is not always bad." "No," she agreed softly. "Sometimes it is better." As summer deepened, Lily grew stronger. She helped around the ranch, learning how to care for the chickens and the cow, how to work the vegetable garden Brock had planted. She was a quick learner, and Brock found himself teaching her things he had never imagined teaching anyone. He showed her how to ride his gentlest horse, a mare named Daisy. The first time Lily sat in the saddle, she was terrified, but Brock walked beside her, his hand on her leg to steady her. "I have got you," he said. "I will not let you fall." "I trust you," she said, and the simple honesty in her voice made his heart skip. By the end of the week, she was riding on her own, cantering across the meadow with her hair flying behind her, laughing with pure joy. Brock watched from the fence, unable to stop smiling. This was what he had been missing, he realized. Not just companionship, but this specific person. Lily brought light into his carefully ordered world, challenged him to be more than just a man surviving alone on the land. One evening in late July, they were washing dishes together after supper. It had become their routine, working side by side in comfortable silence. Lily handed him a plate to dry and their fingers brushed. It was a small touch, meaningless, and yet Brock felt it like electricity. "Lily," he said, setting down the plate, "I need to tell you something." She turned to him, her hands still in the dishwater. "What is it?" "You have been here a month now, and I have been thinking." He took a breath. "I do not want you to leave, ever. I know that is selfish. I know you have your own life to build, but I cannot help how I feel." "How do you feel?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Like I have been waiting for you my whole life without knowing it. Like finding you at my gate was the best thing that ever happened to me." He stepped closer. "I am falling in love with you, Lily. Maybe I have been since that first moment." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Oh, Brock, you do not have to say anything. I just needed you to know." "You foolish man," she said, laughing and crying at the same time. "I have been in love with you for weeks. I was terrified you just saw me as a charity case, someone to help and then send on their way." "Never," he said fiercely. "You are so much more than that." She pulled her hands from the dishwater and reached for him, wet hands and all, pulling his face down to hers. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, both of them learning the shape of the other. Then Lily made a small sound in the back of her throat and pressed closer, and the kiss deepened into something that made Brock's head spin. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Brock rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me," he said. "Not as a guest, as my partner, my wife, if you will have me." "Yes," Lily said without hesitation. "Yes to all of it." They were married a week later by the circuit preacher who came through Spokane once a month. It was a simple ceremony in the church, with Sheriff Hendricks and Mrs. Patterson from the general store as witnesses. Lily wore her blue dress and Brock wore his one good suit, and when the preacher pronounced them man and wife, Brock kissed her like she was his whole world, because she was. Their wedding night was tender and sweet, both of them nervous but certain. Brock had never been with a woman before, had saved himself for someone who mattered, and Lily was equally inexperienced. They learned each other slowly, with gentle hands and whispered words, and when Lily fell asleep in his arms afterward, Brock lay awake feeling like the luckiest man alive. The ranch became truly theirs. Lily threw herself into making the house a home, adding curtains and preserving vegetables from the garden, and bringing a warmth to the space that Brock had not known was missing. She also started teaching some of the ranch children from neighboring spreads, holding lessons twice a week in their small house. "I am still a teacher," she told Brock, "just in a different way than I planned." "You are amazing," he said, pulling her into his arms. "Have I told you that today?" "Only 3 times. I think you are falling behind." He laughed and kissed her. "Then let me make up for it." As autumn painted the Montana landscape in gold and crimson, Lily realized she was pregnant. She told Brock one evening after supper, taking his hand and placing it on her still flat stomach. "We are going to have a baby," she said, watching his face. Brock's eyes went wide, then filled with tears. "Truly, truly." "In the spring." He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I love you so much. I love you too. I am so happy, Brock. I never thought I could be this happy." The winter was hard, just as Brock had warned, but they faced it together. Snow piled high around the house, and some days they could not go outside at all, but Lily did not mind. She was warm and safe with the man she loved, and that was all that mattered. They spent the long winter evenings talking, planning for the baby, dreaming about the future. Brock built a cradle with his own hands, carving careful designs into the wood. Lily sewed tiny clothes, marveling at how small they were. "Do you want a boy or a girl?" she asked one night. "Healthy," Brock said immediately. "That is all I want, me too. But if you had to choose," he considered. "A boy, I suppose, someone to help run the ranch someday. But a girl would be wonderful too, especially if she is as beautiful and stubborn as her mother." Lily threw a pillow at him. "I am not stubborn. You are incredibly stubborn. It is one of the things I love most about you." The baby came in early April, during a spring rainstorm that turned the world green and new. The labor was long and difficult, and there were moments when Brock feared he might lose them both. Mrs. Patterson from town had come to help with the birthing, and she worked tirelessly through the night. When dawn broke and Brock finally heard the baby's cry, he felt his knees go weak with relief. Mrs. Patterson cleaned up the baby and handed it to him wrapped in a blanket. "You have got a son," she said with a tired smile. "Strong and healthy." Brock looked down at the tiny face, the dark eyes blinking up at him, and felt his heart expand in a way he had not known was possible. "Hello, little one. I am your father." He carried the baby to Lily, who was exhausted but smiling. "Look what we made," he said, laying their son in her arms. "He is perfect," Lily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Absolutely perfect." They named him Benjamin after Brock's father. Benjamin Morrison, born into love and wanted more than anything in the world. Watching Lily with their son, Brock thought back to that night she had appeared at his gate, broken and afraid. He thought about how close he had come to not being home, to missing her entirely. The randomness of it terrified him, how easily they might never have found each other. But they had found each other. Against all odds, in the middle of the wild Montana territory, 2 lost souls had collided and created something beautiful. The years passed in a blur of joy and hard work. Benjamin grew into a sturdy boy with his mother's green eyes and his father's dark hair. 2 years after his birth, Lily gave them a daughter, Emma, who was all fire and determination from the moment she entered the world. The ranch prospered. Brock expanded his herd, built a bigger barn, added rooms onto the house. Lily's teaching grew too, until she had a dozen students coming twice a week. Some were children from neighboring ranches. Others were adults who had never learned their letters. They faced hardships too. A drought one summer that nearly broke them. A winter so harsh they lost half their cattle. The constant threat of violence that came with living on the frontier. But they faced it all together, and that made all the difference. On their 5th anniversary, Brock took Lily back to the gate where he had found her. It was summer again, the same time of year, the same slant of light through the cottonwoods. "You remember?" he asked, his arm around her waist. "Every detail. I thought I was going to die out there in the wilderness. Then I saw your gate, and it was like seeing salvation. I saw you through the slats, and my whole life changed. I just did not know it yet." Lily turned in his arms, her face tilted up to his. "Do you ever regret it? Taking in a stranger, tying your life to mine?" "Not for a single second. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, Lily Morrison. You and our children, this life we have built, it is more than I ever dreamed of having. Even when I burned supper, even then." He kissed her softly. "Especially then, because it means you are here to burn supper in the first place." She laughed and pulled him closer. "I love you, Brock. More today than yesterday, less than tomorrow." "That is some pretty poetry, Mrs. Morrison." "I learned it from a book, thought it fit us." "It does," he agreed. "It really does." That night, after the children were asleep, they sat outside under the stars just as they had on their first night together. Lily's head was on Brock's shoulder, his arm around her, both of them content in the silence. "Tell me something," Lily said eventually. "If you could go back to that day before I arrived, would you change anything?" Brock thought about it. "I would have cleaned the house better, maybe put on a better shirt." She swatted his chest. "Be serious." "I am serious. I would not change a single thing about how we found each other, but I would have liked to make a better first impression." "You made a perfect first impression. You saved my life." "You saved mine too, you know. I was just too stubborn to realize I needed saving." "From what?" "Loneliness. A half-life, going through the motions without really living." He tightened his arm around her. "You taught me what it means to be truly alive, Lily. Every day with you is a gift. You are going to make me cry. Good tears, I hope. The best tears." She turned her face up to kiss him. "Thank you for letting me stay. Thank you for never leaving." As the stars wheeled overhead and the Montana night wrapped around them, they sat together in perfect contentment. Two people who had found each other against all odds and built a love that would last a lifetime. The children grew. Benjamin became a capable ranch hand by the time he was 10, already showing the steady reliability of his father. Emma was wilder, more interested in books and learning than cattle and horses, but she loved the land in her own way. When she was 8, Lily gave birth to twins, 2 boys they named Samuel and Daniel. The house was full of noise and life and love. Spokane grew too, from a rough frontier town into something approaching civilization. More families settled in the area, and Lily's teaching expanded until the community built a proper schoolhouse and hired her as the official teacher. She rode into town 3 days a week, leaving Brock to manage the children and the ranch. "Who would have thought I would end up as a house husband 3 days a week?" he joked one morning as Lily prepared to leave. "You are doing a wonderful job," she said, kissing him goodbye. "The children are lucky to have you." "I am the lucky one. I get to spend time with them that most fathers miss." It was true. Brock cherished the days with his children, teaching them to ride and rope, to read the weather and the land, to be good and honest people. He saw Lily in all of them, her strength and kindness, her determination to make the world a little better. On a crisp October day when Lily was in town teaching, a stranger rode up to the ranch. Brock was in the yard with the twins, teaching them to throw a rope, when he saw the rider approaching. Something about the man made him uneasy. "Benjamin," he called to his oldest son, "take your brothers and sister inside." Benjamin, now 12 and sharp-eyed, recognized the tone and obeyed immediately, herding the younger children into the house. The stranger stopped his horse at the gate, the same gate where Lily had collapsed all those years ago. He was rough-looking, with hard eyes and a scarred face. "Help you?" Brock asked, his hand resting casually on the pistol at his hip. "Looking for someone," the man said. "Woman named Lily Bryant. Heard she might be around these parts." Brock's blood ran cold. "Why are you looking for her?" "Got business with her, about a stagecoach robbery 5 years back." "That was all settled years ago. The sheriff handled it." The stranger's eyes narrowed. "Not all of it. One of my partners died in prison, swore before he went that there was a witness, said he would see her dead for testifying." "You are one of them," Brock said quietly. "One of the men who killed those people." "Maybe I am. Maybe I am just delivering a message for a friend." The man's hand moved toward his gun. "Where is she?" Brock drew faster, his pistol clearing leather before the stranger could react. "You turn that horse around and ride away, now, or I will put a bullet in you and sleep just fine tonight." The stranger stared down the barrel of Brock's gun, calculating his chances. Finally, he raised his hand slowly. "Easy, friend, I am just asking questions." "No, you are threatening my wife. That makes you my enemy. You have got 10 seconds to get off my property." The man turned his horse, but before he rode away, he said, "This is not over. Others will come. Let them. They will get the same welcome." Brock watched until the rider disappeared over the hill, then hurried inside. His hands were shaking now that the moment had passed. Benjamin was standing by the window with the old rifle they kept above the door. "Who was that, Pa?" "Trouble, but he is gone now." Brock pulled his son into a quick hug. "You did good, getting everyone inside." "Are we safe?" "Always," Brock promised, hoping it was true. When Lily came home that evening, Brock told her everything. She went pale but held herself together the same way she had when Sheriff Hendricks had first questioned her. "They found me," she said. "After all these years, one of them found you. But he did not get what he came for, and he will not." Brock took her hands. "I will protect you, Lily, whatever it takes. I know you will, but we should tell the sheriff. He needs to know." They rode into Spokane the next morning, all of them together, because Brock was not leaving his family unprotected. Sheriff Hendricks was older now, grayer, but still sharp. "I will put out word," he said after hearing the story. "See if I can track this fellow, but Brock is right to be cautious. These men do not forget." "What should we do?" Lily asked. "Be careful, keep your eyes open, and keep that husband of yours close. He is a good shot and he loves you. That is better protection than most." For the next few weeks they were on edge. Brock barely slept, getting up multiple times each night to check the perimeter. He taught Benjamin and even Emma how to shoot properly, just in case. The ranch felt less like a sanctuary and more like a fortress. Then one night, Brock saw movement near the barn. He grabbed his rifle and slipped outside, moving silently across the yard. 3 men were trying to force open the barn door, their horses tied in the trees beyond. "That is far enough," Brock said, his rifle aimed at the center man. They spun around, reaching for their guns, but Brock fired a warning shot into the dirt at their feet. "Next one is not a warning. Get on your horses and ride out." "We are not leaving without what we came for," one of them said. "Then you are not leaving alive." Brock's voice was cold. "My wife did nothing but survive. That is not a crime. You are the criminals here. She sent our friend to prison. He died there. Because he murdered innocent people. He deserved worse." Brock saw movement from the house and knew Lily was watching from the window with Benjamin beside her. Last chance. Ride away. The men looked at each other, then at the rifle in Brock's steady hands. Finally, the leader spat in the dirt. You are protecting a killer. I am protecting my wife. There is a difference. They mounted up and rode away, but Brock knew it was not truly over. These men had come for revenge, and they would likely be back with more numbers. The next day, he rode to the neighboring ranches and told them what was happening. The frontier had its own code, and threatening a man's wife was beyond the pale. Within hours, he had a dozen men pledged to help if trouble came. We look out for our own, said Jack Miller from the next ranch over. These city thugs think they can come out here and terrorize good people. They got another thing coming. Word spread. More men came forward. Even the sheriff deputized several of them, making it official. They set up a watch rotation, men taking turns keeping an eye on Brock's ranch at night. Lily hated it, hated being the cause of so much trouble. But Brock held her close and reminded her that she had done nothing wrong. You survived, he said for the 100th time. That is all, and I will be damned if I let anyone punish you for that. The attack came a week later, just before dawn. 8 men rode up on the ranch, heavily armed and determined. But they found not just Brock waiting, but 20 armed men from the surrounding ranches, plus the sheriff and his deputies. The would-be attackers took one look at the odds, and most of them turned tail immediately. 2 were stupid enough to draw their weapons, and they went down with bullets in their legs before they could fire a shot. Sheriff Hendricks arrested them both, and under questioning, they gave up the rest of the gang. Within a month, the entire group was behind bars awaiting trial. It is really over, Lily said when they got the news. She was standing in their bedroom looking out at the land they had built their life on. They are all in custody. We are safe. Brock wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her head. We are safe, finally. I am sorry for bringing this trouble to your door. Stop that. You brought nothing but joy to my door. The trouble came on its own and we dealt with it, together. She turned in his arms, her eyes searching his face. How did I get so lucky, finding you that day? I am the lucky one. You are the brave one, the strong one. I am just the fool who had the good sense to fall in love with you. My fool, she said, smiling through tears. Forever and always. Life returned to normal, or as normal as life with 4 children ever was. The ranch continued to prosper, and Brock and Lily grew older together, their love deepening with each passing year. On their 10th anniversary, Brock had a surprise for her. He had been working on it secretly for months, enlisting Benjamin's help to keep it hidden. Close your eyes, he said, leading her outside. Brock Morrison, what are you up to? You will see. Keep them closed. He led her across the yard to the small rise beyond the house. Okay, you can look now. Lily opened her eyes and gasped. Brock had built her a library. A small building, yes, but sturdy and beautiful, with windows on all sides to let in the light. Inside were shelves he had made himself and books, dozens of books he had been collecting for months. Brock, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. This is too much. Nothing is too much for you. You gave up your dreams of teaching in a fancy school to build a life with me out here. The least I can do is give you a place to read and study and be yourself. She threw her arms around him, holding him tight. I did not give up my dreams. I found better ones. With you. They stood there together, holding each other in the Montana sunshine, their children watching from the house windows and grinning at their parents' happiness. More years passed. The children grew into adults. Benjamin took over more of the ranch work, proving himself capable and level-headed. Emma went to teacher's college, following in her mother's footsteps, then returned to teach in the Spokane school alongside Lily. The twins were inseparable, working the ranch together with an efficiency that amazed even Brock. When Brock was 45, A heart problem forced him to slow down. The doctor in Spokane was blunt. "You need to take it easy, Brock. Let your boys do the heavy work." It was hard for him, stepping back, but Lily was there to help him through it. "You have worked hard your whole life," she said. "Let someone else carry the load for a while. I feel useless." "You are not useless. You are the heart of this family, the foundation we are all built on. That does not change just because you cannot lift as many bales of hay." Brock learned to adjust, focusing on the business side of the ranch, on training his sons, on enjoying time with his family. He and Lily spent more evenings in her library, reading together by lamplight, just enjoying each other's company. "We have had a good life," Lily said one night. She was 50 now, her dark hair streaked with silver laugh lines around her eyes. To Brock, she had never been more beautiful. "The best life," he agreed. "Sometimes I still cannot believe you picked me." "I did not pick you. The universe did. It dropped me at your gate and said, 'This is the man you are meant to love,' and I have never regretted listening. Even when I was stubborn, especially then." She smiled. "Your stubbornness matches mine. We are a good pair." They celebrated their 20th anniversary surrounded by family. Benjamin had married a sweet woman named Catherine, and they had given Brock and Lily 3 grandchildren. Emma was courting a young teacher from town. The twins were still bachelors, focused on the ranch, but Lily held out hope they would find love eventually. 20 years, Brock said in his toast that night. 20 years since I married the woman I found at my gate, the woman who changed everything. I love you more today than I did then, Lily Morrison, and I will love you more tomorrow than I do today." "Here, here," Benjamin called out, and everyone drank. Later, when it was just the two of them again, Lily said, "Do you remember what you said to me that first night? You said I was safe. And I have been every day since, safe and loved and home." "You are home," Brock agreed. "My home, my heart, my everything." They danced in the moonlight, slow and sweet, with only the sound of the night around them. It had been a long journey from that terrible day when Lily had stumbled to his gate, broken and afraid. But they had made something beautiful from that darkness, had built a life filled with love and laughter and meaning. As they grew older still, as their children had children of their own, as the ranch passed to the next generation, Brock and Lily never lost sight of what mattered most: each other. The love they had built. The promise they had made on that summer night so long ago to never leave, to never let go. On their 30th anniversary, they visited the gate again. It was a tradition now, going back to where it all started. Brock's heart was weaker, his steps slower, but he still walked with Lily hand in hand to the place where their story began. 30 years, Lily said, looking at the weathered wood. "Can you believe it? Barely. Feels like yesterday and forever ago all at once. Do you think we would do it all again? Knowing what we know now." Brock pulled her close, his arms still strong when it came to holding her. "Every heartache, every struggle, every moment of fear and doubt. I would do it all again in a heartbeat if it meant ending up right here with you." "Me too," Lily whispered. 1,000 times over, me too." As the sun set over the Montana landscape, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, they stood together at the gate where everything had changed, where a desperate woman had found sanctuary, where a lonely man had found his purpose, where 2 lost souls had collided and created a love story for the ages. The ranch would go on after them. Their children and grandchildren would work this land, would walk through this gate, would build their own stories. But it all started here on this spot, on a summer evening in 1883, when Brock Morrison found a woman at his gate and made the simple decision to help her. She never left. He never wanted her to. And together, they proved that sometimes the best things in life are the ones we never planned for, the unexpected gifts that arrive when we are brave enough to open the gate and let love in. Years later, when they were both old and gray, when the children had children of their own and the ranch had grown beyond anything they had imagined, Brock and Lily would still sit together at sunset and remember. They would hold hands and watch the Montana sky and feel grateful for every single day they had been given. "I love you," Brock would say, like he had said 1,000 times before. "I love you too," Lily would answer, like she always had, like she always would. And the land would stretch out around them, endless and beautiful, a witness to their love story. A love that started with a woman at a gate and a man who chose kindness over caution, love over loneliness, together over alone. On a spring morning in 1923, Brock Morrison died peacefully in his sleep, Lily's hand in his. He was 66 years old, and he had lived a life rich with love and meaning. His last words were, "Thank you for staying." Lily lived another 5 years without him, surrounded by the family they had built together. She spent her days in the library he had made for her, reading and writing down their story so their grandchildren and great-grandchildren would know how it all began. She wrote about that first night, about the fear and the hope, about how a stranger's kindness had saved her life and given her everything she had ever wanted. She wrote about their first kiss, their wedding, the birth of their children. She wrote about the hardships and the joys, the ordinary moments and the extraordinary ones. But mostly, she wrote about love. The kind of love that endures, that grows stronger with time, that transforms two people into something greater than they could ever be alone. The kind of love that starts when you open a gate to a stranger and decide to trust in the goodness of the human heart. When Lily died in the winter of 1928, she was buried beside Brock on the hill overlooking the ranch. Their children erected a simple marker that read, "Brock Morrison and Lily Morrison. He found her at his gate. She never left. He never wanted her to." The ranch continued through the generations, and the story of Brock and Lily became family legend. Their great-great-grandchildren still walk through that gate, still work the land, still feel the presence of the love that started it all. Because some love stories do not end. They echo through time, inspiring and encouraging, reminding everyone who hears them that love is always worth the risk. That opening your gate to a stranger might be the best decision you ever make. That the person who appears when you least expect it might be exactly who you have been waiting for all along. Brock found a woman at his gate one summer evening in Montana. She was broken and afraid, and he chose kindness. She never left because she had finally found home. He never wanted her to because she was his home too. And together, they built a love that lasted not just a lifetime but generations, a testament to the power of compassion, commitment, and the courage to open your heart when love comes knocking at your gate. Their story lived on in the land they had worked, in the children they had raised, in the library Brock had built, and the gate where it all began. Future generations would stand at that gate and feel something, a whisper of the love that had started there, a reminder that the best things in life often come when we are brave enough to help a stranger, to take a chance, to believe in love even when logic says to be cautious. The ranch prospered through the 20th century and beyond. The Morrison family became pillars of the Spokane community, known for their integrity, their generosity, and their fierce loyalty to each other. And whenever anyone asked what made them different, what made them special, the answer was always the same: love. The kind of love that started when Brock Morrison found Lily Bryant at his gate and made a choice that changed everything. The kind of love that builds families, sustains communities, and reminds us all what it means to be truly human. In the end, their story was simple. A man and a woman met by chance, fell in love by choice, and built a life by commitment. They faced hardships together, celebrated joys together, and never took a single day for granted. They proved that love is not just a feeling but an action, a decision made new every day to choose each other, to stay, to build something beautiful from whatever life brings. Brock found a woman at his gate. She never left. He never wanted her to. And that simple truth became the foundation for a love story that would inspire generations. A reminder that sometimes the best things in life are the ones that arrive unexpectedly. The gifts we receive when we are brave enough to open our gates and our hearts to love.